He's saying a
Are
joke.
we on TikTok right now? Can we do a dance?
No.
We can't get involved in this.
Luke 21.
I'm
And,
over 21. I'm an adult.
and sort of people behind you. Bro. Better not put your fingers up. Luke 21. I'll start from 1. And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in thither 2 mites. And he said, of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow have cast in more than they all. For all these have of their abundance cast in unto the offerings of the Most High, but she of her penury have cast in all. Have cast in all the living that she had. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another, that should not be thrown down. Right? And what comes to mind? Malachi, the first chapter, where it speaks about Esau should come back and build our desolate places. And the Most High said, they shall build, but I shall throw down. Right? But this is speaking about Jerusalem, the temple. So it says, verse 7, and they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And that's the main thing, right? What are the signs? Because the signs are the times what we got to identify. Alright, verse 8, and he said, take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, or I am the Christ. I am Christ. And the time draweth near, go ye not therefore after them. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Right? So we're in the midst of these things coming right now. Commotion, uproars of the people. But it's saying the end. But guess what? It's a distinguishing factor of the things that are coming toward the end. Verse 10. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and families, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. Right? And that's what we're happening right now. Down in, what's that, not Cape Verde, other island, Canary Island. You had the volcano eruption, alright? You have earthquakes happening all over the earth. You have all these things that are happening that are basically showing that we're in the time of the end, right? Verse 12, but before these they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, and they shall turn to you for a testimony. Say what therefore in your hearts, alright? Meaning when it says hearts, it means your mind, right? Because your heart is an organ that pumps blood. I have a lot of people that say I lean on my heart in decisions. That's just being fucking emotional. That's what that means, alright? You're meant to use your brain when you make a decision, and you're meant to think it through. So this is what the Lord is saying. It says, settle it therefore in your hearts and your thoughts, not to meditate before what you shall answer, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. So what's that saying? The Lord is basically saying, I'm going to give you the Holy Spirit to basically guide and direct your words when you're in the midst of those camps, right? You got something?
Yeah, Isaiah 31:1.
woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh. And that's really it's the flip side, man. Because as far as for it's the carnal approach versus the spiritual approach, and that's something that in the modern time now, you know, the spirituality's looking at things spiritually has basically been erased, and the replacement, you know, the supplement now is going into all these different forms of witchcraft, man. Going into what's it called, man? Horoscopes, star signs, tarot card readings, all these left-hand side methods of basically dealing with things. That's where now people are looking like, oh, because they're gaining things from that. They don't realize what, bro. You guys are still just completely out in left field. And it's especially among Jake through the Jake women. This is something that's been getting promoted heavy.
No.
Oh, because why? It's basically you're looking at part of Esau's structure, man. Because like it said, Egypt, Sodom and Egypt, man, spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Then go back to them. These guys had all their different forms of sorcery as well. Because with Moses and then what was it? Magi?
Babylon. Babylon.
What do you mean?
Talking about wise men and different witchcraft.
Yeah. Oh, I said Moses. That's
Yeah,
why
I know.
was-
You said what's the? Oh, you talking about?
Oh,
still
like
talking
Moses
about
and the thingy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Just saying, like with what these guys were basically trying. Any of the miracles that Moses basically did, these guys would through their means replicate. But then what? It got to the point where they couldn't keep up, and that's the thing. That's how it is. As far as for now, things will run for the left hand side. Things will run to a certain extent, but then it's gonna have that time where it's gonna be shut off. Because why? It's still the Most High giving a green light for these things to go out, and that's why it's just you have order in the heavens. With what Satan, he basically he reports back. He follows instructions. It's not the Immortals where you got war swords clashing between Michael and Satan, because Satan's just like no. But says what? Yet he is also wise and will bring evil, and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers and against the help of them that work iniquities. Now the Egyptians are men and not Most High, and their horses are flesh and not spirit. When the Lord Yahweh shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they all shall fell together. That's all that work, all this that they're building together within Esau's system, the New Egypt, which is the modern system. All this being built together between Jacob and Esau. These things are all going in the bin. A good example of that is the so-called civil rights movement was meant to be like after that happened. Racism was meant to be conquered, but that's something that didn't come about. That's how is it still a thing that persists to this day? When like as far as legal wise, that's kind of it's a wrap. But it's because why? It's because these are things that
They're in the fabric of society.
yeah, and it's going to persist. You ain't going to have it where everyone's just all going to link arms and get along. They might do it to a certain extent. It's like when society's doing well, it might just appear like that on the surface. But then what? As any form of hardship comes, that's when people are truly tested. When hardship occurs, and that's the thing. When you're doing well, that's no test of the system. But as soon as hardship comes, that goes in the bin, and you can see. As soon as hardship came, What happened after the Brexit vote, man? They said what's it called, hate crimes. They said went up like 300% or something. Because why? All those differences, all those separations within society, they were accentuated. That's the thing. It's the time we're going into. It's a time of trouble, such as never was before. So you can have everything maximized, even more so. Isaiah, you got something? No. Isaiah 13:9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. And that's the thing, is the sinners, that's a group where Jacob's become more than partakers, man. These guys are trailblazers, man. These guys are mavericks, man. These guys are leading the way when it comes to wickedness. Because Jake's getting up into all forms of madness. But it's the whole world, man. Everyone's basically come under the whole umbrella of this new modern philosophy, man. And it says what? So everyone's all caught in the same net, other than those among Israel that repent. So it says, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. So all the understanding is going to come to naught. Because that's the thing, is Esau, by his wisdom, by his understanding, that's how he's been able to gain everything he's got from his current rulership. There's going to be a time where that expires. Because as far as Esau's being confounded into his own destruction, because the word's gone out, the prophecy's there, it's laid out. This guy, he's got his researchers, he watches the videos, he understands the prophecies that are coming out. But then what? He's still pursuing it, thinking he's going to subvert it somewhere. It says, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. And that arrogancy, that's a big part of why judgment is coming against Esau, man. Because he's basically completely assured in his own wicked path. This guy thinks he's basically now, because he's been running so long, he thinks the Most High is with him. He's thinking everything's basically been given thumbs up, man. He's been given a green light to go forth and pursue whatever, him essentially having rule forever. But the green light's been given to him for him to pursue them plans. But then what? It's only up to a point. As it says in Job, when he's about to fill his belly, then that's when the Most High is going to pour his wrath upon him. It says what? And will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. And that's the thing, is, in this modern time, you've basically had it to where the roles of men and women, that's just been thrown in the bin as well. It's now a system where any and everyone can fill whatever role they desire. And all functions of society have basically just been like, we can do away with it and just work from the ground up and do whatever you like. If a man wants to take over the role of a woman, wants to become a woman, that's completely doable, and vice versa. If you want to raise your kids as formless blobs rather than raising them, you can basically give them the autonomy over their own decisions from as soon as they can speak. Let's do it. And that's basically what you have going on. This is why you have confusion at a critical mass. But it says what? I'll make a man more precious than fine gold. Because it's going to come back to that crisis, that pressure. It's basically going to be put upon people once again. To where when it's a time of crisis, a time of a high amount of pressure. I don't know what that's going to be. But then when a high amount of pressure comes, that's when all of a sudden those things matter again. And that's why you have Isaiah 4:1, where it basically says women will return back to their role. Just say, yo, just basically desire a man to be covered by it. What men are going to return back to their role.
And you know how it's going to happen? They're going to put signal up in
The bat signal.
that signal up in the sky. You're gonna be doing what you're doing. You come to save them. Yeah, I'll come to you later on. I'm dying actually. I'm just joking. But the point being is that this thing is reaching fever pitch with men and women, alright? Because the lines are being greatly defined, especially with the things that are happening with women being raped, them not feeling safe in society, as well as cancel culture. Move towards the police having more power. Even right now, you got undercover police around bars. They ain't saying they're gonna go in, but around bars. So they're saying they have more people outside working to basically, bring about their agenda. All right. That's why a lot of people don't really understand what's going on. But it's gonna reach a point where everything's gonna break down, man. And it's gonna be like some Book of Eli type shit, man. Where women are gonna have to have a man of the Lord if they really want to be able to stand that day.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's worth the same. Men will be made more precious than gold. And that's the thing, it's the Lord's basically working with men, building them up to the point where they're going to be able to endure through the times. Because that's the thing, it says as well, that men shall be as women. For us, but now, these the present preachers calling themselves men, barely any of them fit for purpose. As such, they're basically going to be casualties as well. You're going to have a small, select group that are basically actually going to be built up to the point where they're going to be able to endure through. And that's the thing is, all these qualities in the modern world, they've been thrown in the bin. They've been given of no worth. Integrity, strength, worth. Now it's basically a society where being a victimhood is of greater value than integrity and self-worth and building up your own strength within yourself. That's basically it. So like, nah, you need to be able to just throw a few buzzwords on yourself and you're good to go. Therefore, I will shake the heavens and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as a chased roe and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people and flee every one into his own land. Yeah, everyone's all this coming together, everyone being in harmony, peace and love is going to be revealed for what it is, a sham. Because really that's what it's been. It's a lot of lip service. People will say blah 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 blah, but it's basically just being presented that way. Before you have a bunch of where things will be revealed, people will come out as like the most shining, glorious advocates for everyone coming together. Then you go on their Twitter 10 years ago, there are a bunch of racist jokes on there. But that's just how people be, man. That's how people get down. Yeah. People will have cultural divides. People will look at each other funny. That's a completely normal way of operating.
That's it. If I see a Edomite walking barefoot on the floor, I'm looking at him sideways, man. Like, fuck. And in the same way, different cultures look at different people, right? With different smells, different foods are into, and that's cuisines, and that's what people are into. And that's what really divides the nation.
Yeah, they all
Father made that.
Yeah, they all got their own spirits, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is Esau that's a heathenish approach because it goes back to Babel. Basically, everyone just lumping together, which that wasn't what was desired. It never has been. It says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Yeah, everyone that basically holds down for this current system, they're basically going to fall with it. Because just like with Rome, man, it was a man that would have been sitting in their in their vineyard in Rome, like, no, the barbarians will never. Then man just came in and smashed the thing, man. Man will use as fertilizer for for that vineyard. Says what? Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. It's going to be a great form of destruction. Visit it again, man. It's going to be like those ancient war scenes where you see people going absolutely buck wild, man. It's going to be like the rape of Nanking. It's going to be like the sacking of Rome. It's going to be like in what's it called, Game of Thrones, man. Where what's his name? What's her name? Daenerys sent the dragon in, and just man were getting toasted. It's going to be peace. It's going to be a mess. And that's the thing is, as far as for, if you go to people in the West Bank, you go to people in Syria, shit, the best. Yeah. You go to people in the West Bank, people in Syria, people who come from the portions of Eastern Europe where you've had conflict basically happened over the last 20 odd years since the fallout of the what the hell is it called? The USSR. You've just had constant conflict and alliances and join-ins and breaking apart of all the different nations in Eastern Europe. People that grew up through that shit, where they would have seen people get blown the fuck up and all that shit, they're basically looking like, yo, they understand that you can have a time of war where madness will go on. But it's like people that have grown up in a lap of luxury here in the Western world where everything's been softened and people are separated far up, even though it's a society built on war and maintained by it, they're basically raised in a way where they're separated from all that. Once that comes to the doorstep, and that's the reality, then it's going to be a whole different ball game, man.
Yeah, everyone lives in a bubble. Even like the divide, the class divide, cultural divide, and then even like there's no word I have for it, but you know, it's what I was saying to you before. Basically, like they build comfort bubbles. That's the only word that can come to mind. Where it's like I'll let you into
echo
this,
chamber.
Yeah, I'll let you into this space because you conform to everything that I believe.
No, they'll just find they just find the way that like cultures.
It's not culture. That's what I'm
The
saying.
way
It's like
the way that like not even cultures. What's the word? Like friend groups kind of thing. Cliques.
it.
The way cliques work
They'll click
now
up,
is like you can just go in and shut yourself off from the world.
Yeah.
That's a funny thing because it's like with people getting news from social media. I mentioned it before. It's like they're just gonna get within their bubble.
Yeah.
Like it's like if someone's within a bubble where they only interact with someone's only in a certain part of the world, like it's like if you're in China, man, them guys have that sense of internet, man. They ain't getting no news from outside unless they've got certain channels to get out. Because why? They're basically just gonna be dealing with what they understand, man. It's like here in the West, if you're super left leaning in London, then you're probably gonna read The Guardian. You're gonna read well, you probably only read The
I don't
Guardian.
know about any of that shit, man.
You're only gonna fuck with certain newspapers. You're only fuck with certain websites. You're only gonna go to certain people's social media feeds, and then that's all you're gonna be interacting with. And as far as for you, you're not gonna understand anything that's going on outside. You might be talking about blah blah blah. You don't realize people are getting fucking blown up.
But that's the point.
In the meantime.
Yeah, it's like to the point where you have people have their echo chambers, their cliques, and then they have a set things they're basically involved in, and everything, all of that is gonna crumble and burn, and they're gonna be introduced to reality.
And then reality is gonna go because it's all these
Where
things.
it's all of that comfort that you have, that bubblegum lifestyle, the neon lights, and I'm looking at London now. That's like you know, everything's perfect. There's not war in the world. You're gonna be presented with hard truths. That's why in the movie The Road, you have the wife of the individual. She just said,
Charlize Theron.
yeah, Charlize Theron, man.
She just walked
Or
out.
Heron. She just walked out to the darkness, man.
It's too hard.
It's too, because what she was used to was candlelit bathtubs, big pillows
Said
in front.
I was like, is that the first thing? And then
Candlelit bathtubs, you know, with
rose
the
petals in the bath.
in the bath with the bath salts, and then you basically got big
Glass of
pillows,
wine.
glass of wine, Netflix, nice carpet on the floor, nice rug, everything. The heating's on, got a little blanket over you, you're not sure. Like, but
Yeah, I just did. I spoke to
the
them
day when
about
it sets in that there's people outside and they're killing each other and they're eating each other, or you have something they want, man, that taking your life seems like the best option, basically. And that's why she did it in the movie. Because she just said, look, this is too hard for me. I'm going,
Like, yeah.
whatever happens to me,
and that's the
happens
thing.
to me.
Yeah, and there was a child that needed to be cared for.
She was
She was
selfish.
like, fuck that shit.
She said, I ain't taking care of this child no more. I'm gone.
I'm out of here. But that's what verse 17 said. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. It's like the Medes what alludes to what the Russians. And that's when you deal with the Russians, their culture. The way them guys get down is completely different. Them guys are raw as fuck, man. Like, when you deal with Russia, that place is big as hell, all sorts of shit is spread out. These guys in the countryside do whatever the fuck they want, man. They'll be a law unto themselves out in the middle of nowhere. That's why there's that video, remember that video of the guy, the drug dealer in some village in Russia somewhere, where he was getting whipped with like cables, bro, like fucking, what you call thingy? Thingy level cables, man. Industrial tip level cables, lashing up man's back. He was destroyed. He was like, I was never gonna drugs again. I'm like, bro, they just kept going with no remorse. Them guys move different. That's the thing. That's why it says what the wives are gonna be ravished. The way they're gonna be moving, they're gonna be moving like in an ancient one. And the spirit's gonna be put on them. All love is gonna be lost, man. There's gonna be no warmth in their heart when they're doing these acts. And that's the thing I can't remember the term. I think it's called blood drunk or something. Where when they get in the heat of battle, like men will kill a bunch of people and then just have an overwhelming urge to fuck.
I've never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, it's thingy. That's what's like the rape of Nanking, where Japan just went and fucked up the whole of Nanking. I think it was the final stronghold for China in like lead up to World War II. To where like once they took it, they were so happy. Them guys were losing their minds, man. Raped hundreds of thousands of women out in there, man.
Yeah, but that's the spirit of war.
And it's like, yeah, and then afterwards they were just fucking chopping up men. They went wild, man. It's like they have pictures as well. They have pictures of like this guy just there, and I think they were just like chucking knives and shit, trying to get limbs off, just hacking limbs off and just watching them bleed out. They lost their minds completely. But that's what happens in war. That's how war gets.
It reminds me of Ghostface Killer, the intro of Mighty Helping video.
I
It's
probably
like a
remember
man,
it, but I don't remember.
it's like a shout, it's like a Chinese kind of Chinese clip. You know, like Chinese old movies. It's like when a man starts to get kung fu flick, where it says, you know, when a man kills, he sort of develops a lust. He keeps on killing.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember how it goes, but you know that's where it says. Yeah.
But that's it. That's what it's gonna be like. But yeah, that's how wild it's gonna get, man. It's basically just gonna be a completely raw display. One where it's like, you know, you get start intricately describing it, then YouTube will just obliterate the video. But that's the thing. These are like with what I was gonna say, the current culture of how people deal is cotton candy, man. It's basically being shielded and cordoned off from harsh truths. People are thinking about the latest Marvel movie, the most recent football game, the next drop. They're thinking about the next prep they're gonna get. There might be, man, did you see those? There was a fucking what was it? The latest, well, I don't know about latest. There's a Disney film they're doing called Sneakerella, where it's just like Jake, he designs preps, and then it's like him just basically just Like it's like meant to be his fairy tale kind of.
That's black culture, man.
Yeah, I was watching. I was like, this is just like. That's the thing is, I was like, they saw the scripts, they were offered the role, and they took it, man. I'm like, you guys are fucking you animals. Like, is that it? Is that as far as you just preps and basketball and fame and success? You got no integrity, but there's no integrity among Jake, man. They're done. That's why it's the harsh reality is gonna come in like a lightning bolt from the blue. That's like the term, a bolt from the blue. You have a completely clear sky, then just shoom.
5,000 votes, so
But yeah, we'll close up there. Yeah, Lord willing, we'll be back next week. This place is done, man. People are living in it, basically fogging their eyes over, man. They're steaming up their glasses and putting them back on and hoping for the best. But yeah, say all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Harakah, Kadash. Don't want to see the bosses, now the great news of the world. Shalom.
hopefully next week, Lord willing.